Local interviews with NAFB farm broadcaster Jared White, and much, much more. All at IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone this morning is Andrea Kocher with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County. Good morning, Andrea. How are you?
Good morning, Seth. I'm great. How about you?
Oh, doing well. Thanks for asking, and thanks for making time for us. It's good to have you back on the program. We tend to, Andrea, dive into some heavy subjects when you come on. You always have great information for us about domestic abuse and domestic violence, and just the many, many layers that it comes with. And we have those conversations with you every month. But we're going to kind of take up a fun topic here for today. And I know that a couple years ago it was announced that Willow Tree Missions had bought a building in downtown Monticello, and the renovation process has been ongoing, and I'm sure it's been rather long and a lot of work and all of those things, but I think you're ready to roll out with the full opening of the lower level. What's going on here, Andrea?
Absolutely. So, 2 years ago, our building was purchased, or we purchased our building. It is a well over 100-year-old building that had to be completely renovated to turn into our resale shop, or to expand our resale shop capacity. The services that we provide and the services that I provide to the county are funded entirely by donations from the community, donations from individuals or groups or civic groups, and our resale shop. We actually don't apply for any service grants of any kind because we have always been really fortunate to be self-sustained by our community. Because of that, we've had the capacity to really expand our resale shop availability and the square footage that we're able to provide, because people have blessed us so much with gifts that we can then turn around and sell to provide all the services we provide.
So what is kind of the state of the facility right now? I mean, you mentioned kind of fully opening up the whole thing. What is the state of the building right now? What is able to happen there?
Absolutely. So currently we have two sections. About 1/3 of the main floor is open and actively being used as a resale shop. The remaining 2/3 square footage that's on the basement or on the main level is nearing its completion, so that we can open the rest of it for resale, so that we can expand into that. We are like 30 days or less away from being able to open and double our square footage of resale shop space.
Fantastic. What's that going to mean for the agency?
Yeah, so what that will mean for us as far as services go, as far as like being able to reach our true mission, is the more floor space we have available, the more stuff we can have for sale, the more foot traffic we will have. The new location being downtown is visible to people who are already utilizing the Monticello downtown area. So we should, or we anticipate being able to really increase our foot traffic, our sales, our availability, and also it puts our services being provided. It kind of connects better to the community. They'll be able to see like where my office space is, where people are able to come in and get services, and people will be able to come in for services in a really discreet way, because they'll blend with the rest of the community who are just there shopping or utilizing our business space and things like that.
Sure. Very good. Now, along the way, Andrea, to leading up to that full opening, if you will, you still need a lot of things. You need the communities to step up and help you out with getting all the way there in the next 30 days. What's going on? What do you need?
Absolutely. So one of the big things going on currently is that we had the flooring of our building was still the original hardwood. So we had those completely sanded and refinished again and refinished again. They are amazing. It got completed last week. So now we are able to do like the finishing touches. As I mentioned, we're funded completely by ourselves. That includes that we try to very minimally like pay contractors for work or pay outside work. We will, obviously, But we try to really rely on what the community can help us with so that we can save that funding and save those available resources for clients. So currently, the last steps that we really, really need are we've got flooring that needs installed in several areas. While we love our hardwoods, there are some places that were either damaged or because of previous tenants and different activities they had going on in our building, they weren't able to salvage some of the areas. So we're having to go in and lay essentially some laminate flooring in some certain places. We desperately need help with that. We've got some minor electrical work as well, as far as light fixtures and making sure that outlets are hooked up properly, things like that. Those are the things that are like skilled that we are really looking for assistance with.
Very good. So when it comes to I guess, leading up to all those things, like those are some significant milestones, it feels like, to have in place before you open. I guess talk a little bit about kind of running up against the clock on some of those things and just, I don't know, the contingency if those things don't happen,
Sure.
if you will. And I don't mean to be kind of negative Nancy here, but how about that?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that we are really fortunate, kind of as Willow Tree as a whole, we just kind of have never been let down before. We truly believe in our value system. We're faith-based. We're a faith-based organization. We really believe that if we wish it into fruition, it happens. We know we're doing the right thing. We, of course, have already had volunteers come forward who are willing to work in our timeline. We're just looking for some added help for them to kind of take some of that burden off of them.
No doubt. Very good. Very good. So a lot of things kind of on the radar, I guess, if you will. Again, Andrea Kocher with Willow Tree Missions, our guest on the phone here for this morning. They talk about the full kind of opening of the lower level of their Monticello location, downtown Monticello at that. Andrea, so when that gets opened up, what's kind of next? Because there's still that upper level, and I know there's a lot of vision for what could happen and potentially take place in the upper level of that facility. So what's kind of next after all of this?
Absolutely. So the completion of the main floor means we are nowhere near finished with construction and remodel and kind of getting to the end goal. So once the main level is done, with grand opening is set for October 2nd, we will then be able to put, for the most part, that behind us. We will then move our efforts to the upstairs, of our building. That is going to become 2 transitional housing units for individuals who are fleeing domestic violence.
When it comes to the that space there, would that be a temporary space? Would it be somewhat short term for that person or that family, that individual? What does that look like? What are those? What will be this time frame of those spaces in terms of how long someone would stay there?
Absolutely, great question, Seth. So as we know, whenever individuals leave domestic violence situations, oftentimes it's a crisis. They're in true crisis. Their safety is in jeopardy. But once their crisis has ended, the initial issues that they're presented with are over, there's not a place for them often to return. They've left their home. They've uprooted the things that are home to them. And so we are working toward being able to offer them a place of transition where they can come and kind of reintegrate themselves back into society without their abuser. The goal is that they'll be able to stay with us for about 18 months, give or take. It would be absolutely the most would be 2 years, but where they can get back on their feet, find employment, build back up whatever savings they likely no longer have. Establish some core family goals with our assistance kind of wrapping around them in that.
So kind of a rehabilitation process a little bit.
100%. So our goal is to ultimately be able to bring in a victim and their family. So it would be if they have children, we'll absolutely take them. So we're working to equip 2 full housing units that are higher than efficiency. It'll be two true apartments where we can help people rebuild their lives and make them self-sustainable without their abuser, so that they don't have that that crutch where they feel like they have to go back in order to survive.
I feel like that's going to require a lot of security, because I know you and I have talked in the past about abusers and how they seem to always have they know where you're at. And obviously that's going to be a very visible place, downtown Monticello. There's not a lot of hiding there, if you will. So how about the security side of that and the safety side of that for the victim? How about those things?
Absolutely, Seth. That's like my number one priority and everything that we've planned with it. Part of ours is kind of on the reverse side of that, because it's downtown, because it's visible. That in itself will provide a little bit of safety, because individuals won't ever be alone and isolated and secluded because there's constant foot traffic. Beyond that, we're taking major security efforts as far as access to the building. We are doing very limited access to the upstairs, even now as we're starting the renovation processes. So the wrong information isn't given, or the setup of the building, things like that is not shared with individuals who don't need to know what that looks like. There, of course, will also be camera systems. We're using local law enforcement to help us as we're creating these entries and exits and things like that, so that they're aware and part of our team to help keep our people safe.
Andrea, what am I missing in this conversation? What have I not touched on you want to put out there for us, whether it's things you need, whether it's the reopen or whether it's the grand opening, whether it's the vision of the upper level? What did I miss in the conversation that you want to make sure we know about?
Absolutely. So all in all, Seth, if you feel like you're being led in any way to help, to volunteer, we will take you. We need things done as simple as wiping down walls, cleaning things up. We've done a ton of construction, so there's a ton of dust, as you can imagine. It can be as simple as sitting at a table for 1 hour. We will put you to work if you are willing to come and donate your time with us. It can be as complex as hanging drywall, as I said, flooring, electrical. We have an absolute ton of wood trim to rehang. So, I should actually talk about the trim. So we were able to disassemble some shelving units in the basement that were, I don't know that they're original to the building, but they've been there for a very long time, and refurbish those to create all of our trim for the main floor, so that we could keep some historical aspects of our building and kind of bring some of that old life into our new, as kind of a full wraparound, full circle moment for what the building's going to have to offer. All of that needs installed now that the flooring's done. There's no job that we don't need done. We can use any volunteer for anything they want to give us.
Interesting stuff. How do folks get involved, Andrea? How do they get a hold of you to get that ball rolling, if you will?
Absolutely. So there's so many ways. We're at the building Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 8 to 4:30. So if you're feeling led to give us some of your time, we'll take you anytime. Just show up. We also have for all of the Saturdays in September, we're having designated work days on from 9 to noon every day, every Saturday morning. So show up and we'll put you to work. Again, there's no volunteers time that we won't utilize in some way.
Very good.
We have so much going on.
Yeah, for sure. So check it all out. Get a hold of Andrea and the folks at Willow Tree Mission. If you're interested, Andrea, how do folks follow along with perhaps all the things you're doing? Maybe they're not in Monticello, the area, but they're listening and they want to follow along with just what's happening there. How do they do that?
Absolutely. You can follow us on Facebook at Willow Tree Missions. We also can be found online at willowtreemissions.org. Or if you just want to give us a call, I'll take any questions or comments. And our phone number you can reach us at is 217-631-1018.
Very good. Andrea Kocher with Willow Tree Missions, our guest on the phone for this morning. We'll talk more with Andrea coming up on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
An item today.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn higher, beans double-digit higher, wheat trading higher at this hour. December corn up 2.5, 488.5. March corn up 2 1/4, 503 1/4. May corn 511 up 1 3/4. November beans 1380 up 15. January beans up 14 1/4, 1393 1/4. March beans 1397 3/4 up 12 3/4. December wheat 607 3/4 up 8.5. March wheat up 8 3/4, 633. and 3/4. In the livestock market, September feeders 251.70 up 32 cents. October live cattle up 60 cents, 180.55. October lean hogs 83.37. That's up 20 cents. Looking at the energy market at this hour, October crude oil 87.04 up 35 cents. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
Summertime injuries can slow summer fun, but the Warner Hospital Physical Therapy Department in Clinton is here to help. I'm athletic trainer Arrow Rhodes to let you know whether it's kids active in summer sports or adults being weekend warriors, summertime fun always brings sports injuries. Our team is trained in many specialties to get you back in the game, providing physical therapy services right here in Clinton. No need to go out of town. The Warner Hospital Physical Therapy Department can get you back into summer, providing quality, compassionate care close to home.
Your own home without the maintenance. If you're 55 or better, a beautiful Liberty Village villa could be yours. This is Erin, and I invite you to come take a tour of our move-in ready villa. Click the Liberty Village icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Simply the finest.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Andrea Kocher with Willow Tree Missions is our guest on the phone for this morning. And Andrea, we were talking there in the break. I didn't realize this. I should have made the connection that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I venture a guess that's probably why you want to get your facility fully open and fully functioning, at least on the lower level. How about that?
Absolutely. So yes, October kicks off National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, where of course we try to utilize that time to really educate the community about what domestic violence is, what domestic violence looks like, not only like on the broad spectrum, but also really relative to what domestic violence looks like and what we're seeing in Piatt County. It is the reason we've chosen October as our opening. It also, we'll say, the stars aligned to make that the timeline that just naturally worked. So we got really lucky, and now we're really pushing for it. It's why kind of October 2nd is it's going to be done, because it has to be, because we're going to open to make sure that we were able to get as much information as we out to the community about Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So with that coming up, Andrea, we'll probably talk about this in our next time together. That looks like it's going to be October the 4th. But in between now and then, what are you seeing as it relates to domestic violence, whether it's locally, whether it's data trends that are concerning to you? What's kind of caught your eye as you take kind of a broad look at domestic violence and domestic abuse? How about that?
Absolutely. So it's easiest for me to speak locally because I'm kind of boots on the ground there. I'm in the trenches of what's going on with domestic violence locally. So our trends are no different now than they've been. Unfortunately, we're continuing to help in a great way with individuals who are interested in fleeing, not necessarily ready at this point, but we're doing a lot of work with setting the groundwork of making that possible for individuals who are in some really difficult situations. Another thing we've seen kind of an increase in as of late is as orders of protection or no contact orders with youth, either who are in a teen dating violence situation or who are having some pretty major, goes beyond bullying and more to stalking and things of that nature, where it's gotten to the point where the family believes that court intervention is needed in order to protect their juvenile or to protect their individual, because it's not the other measures that they've taken, they don't feel like are cutting it or aren't working.
Yeah. So what does that look like? What has that looked like from your perspective? What are you seeing there?
Sure. So some of it has been, as I said, some of it's been some teen dating violence situations where an individual has realized that they've gotten themselves into a relationship that they really need out of, but they don't feel safe getting out of, because they do have a true abuser. And that can be hard for adults especially to really accept and understand, because it seems so easy. You're in high school spats happen, you're fine. When that's not really the case. We see abusers as at all ages, and including as youth. And so we're really grateful that people have had the courage to come forward and kind of be a mentor to others without really knowing it, that they're trying to do something about it and get it stopped. Also, that should translate to hopefully they can prevent themselves from getting in those situations as they move into adulthood as well, because they're taking the time to kind of learn how to build themselves without an abuser controlling what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be tough seeing kids that young, whether it's coming to you or just seeking help from any avenue they can get to. That's got to break your heart to see.
Absolutely. I think it's important to kind of hit on what you just said too. Not everyone who comes to see me or comes to see us or reaches out to us about things like that necessarily need court intervention, but they absolutely do need support. They need to be heard. They need to know that what they're saying has happened to them really did happen. They need to be believed so that we can set some building blocks in place to prevent this from happening to them again. Like I said, not everything ends up in court. Not everything that we do ends up with an order of protection or going before a judge. There's so much work we can do to help an individual out of a situation or to gain confidence to withstand going back into a situation without involving the legal system. It's by no means what's necessary for every case we see.
Yeah. And it probably doesn't hurt to remind folks, as we talk about this grand vision of your downtown location and the resale shop, which obviously I'm sure goes to fund a lot of the services and the things you do and the support you provide to the community. Andrea, probably doesn't hurt to remind folks, beyond just the general, safety and sanctuary that Willow Tree Missions offers to victims, other services that you provide. Just give us kind of the general overview of all the things that Willow Tree Missions does for the community.
Absolutely. So we are a huge resource because we do have a resale shop at our disposal. So anyone experiencing any type of setbacks caused by DV will help in any way. But as we said, it doesn't necessarily mean the court system. I spend the majority of my day safety planning with people. A safety plan looks different for every person. It can be as simple as talking through what you should and should not be posting on social media, what's trackable, how to watch if an abuser is watching for you, as complex as helping an individual plan to relocate where they can't be chased or followed by their abuser any longer, and kind of every step in between.
Very good. Well, Andrea, I'll tell you what, I look at the clock. We are quickly coming up on having to let you go. Again, Andrea Kocher, Willow Tree Missions, is our guest on the phone here for this morning. And Andrea, as we wrap things up, just again, where do folks go to find out about opportunities for volunteering? Obviously the grand opening of the entirety of the lower level on your new location in downtown Monticello, or they just want to keep up with Willow Tree Missions in general. Where do they go? Who do they call?
Absolutely. They can always check our website at willowtreemissions.org, follow us on Facebook at Willow Tree Missions, or give us a call, and I'm happy to talk with anyone at 217-631-1018.
Very good, Andrea. Always good to have you on the phone with us. Thanks so much for making time. And again, that's Andrea Kocher, Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County, our guest. And with that, the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network News is now.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton,